We're three millennial Latina first-time moms and entrepreneurs who connected at the start of our radio careers. From partying at nightclubs to figuring out Nightfeeds, we've been friends for 14 years.
We're not experts, just honest moms navigating motherhood together, from pregnancy and the newborn stage to toddlerhood, one phase at a time.
We're excited to share what we've learned, what we wish we'd known, and everything in between.
Welcome to Nightclubs to Nightfeeds. Episode 18. Counting down to wrapping up season 1.
I can't.
I know.
So much time has
So
passed
exciting.
so fast.
So many great episodes, so many great conversations, but we cannot forget about leaving behind our generational trauma, which we have lightly sprinkled here and there, but we are getting into it full throttle this episode. Because everyone has generational trauma. Some of ours are same as each other. Some of ours are different.
Yeah. I think the first step for me was the awareness.
Yes.
Of
Acknowledging,
like being aware of the labeling anxiety, labeling that what I was experiencing was anxiety, labeling the emotions that I was feeling, like finding the words, the label, like to be able to label it, because growing up I didn't have that. And so I think the first step for me was the awareness of that. And then from there, it's like, okay, now what do I do now to alleviate some of this? Because in the future, whenever I have kids, I don't want to pass it down.
Yeah.
And now I'm in that thing with the
So
kid.
for you, it was something that you were already thinking of before you became a mom.
Oh, yeah.
Same.
See, for me, it kind of really didn't hit me until I was trying to become a mom, because then I think like in my brain, I was like preparing, like, okay, I have to prepare for like physical things, got to prepare the room and stuff like that. But also like, what am I carrying? Like now I'm kind of watching the way other people parent. Like your whole mind, well, my whole mind shifted once I was like, okay, I want to become a parent now. I'm going to start trying. Now I'm watching people that I know that are parents. Now I'm like kind of dissecting the way I was raised. Like, loving some things, not loving a lot of things. And that's for me when I was like, wait a second, I have the opportunity to really deep dive into how I want to raise this child. And as a boy, as a Latino boy, and I wasn't raised in a house with any boys, but there is a lot of machismo in the Latino culture.
Yes.
So for me, that was really important.
Yeah.
To be aware of not doing things that are gonna raise a machismo little boy.
Yeah.
And I have guy friends that like don't hug, don't kiss, that would see their siblings and be like, "What's up? Bye." And like that's crazy to me because I'm so close with my sister. Granted, we are both girls, but like but then I see like brother-sister relationships that are really close, and like I'm like, okay, this is what I need to learn how I get there with a little boy.
It's funny that you say the machismo thing, because I feel like growing up in a house with boys and me being the only girl, my sister was younger than me and also disabled. And so she, I was the girl who was unfortunately, all the things of washing the dishes and picking up after my brothers and picking up after my stepdad and doing all the girl things in the house that like, now I know.
Yeah, you're a girl, so you have to do all those. You have to pick up after the boys. And like, that's crazy.
I feel like because my sister was special needs, like my mom had to focus on her, and not that when we were at school and all this stuff, she was doing all of the things. And now that I'm older, I realize like she needed my help in so many ways that like, back then I hated. And obviously if I had a daughter who was able to help in those ways and I was in the same circumstances my mom, like I would feel so lucky, and I'm glad now looking back on it that I was able to help her with those things, because otherwise it's not like my stepdad would have stepped in,
Right.
And she did, like my brothers did do certain things, like we all had to clean the house on Fridays and we all had our different jobs. But I think it was particular in like the everyday where we would all come home from school, we'd all eat lunch. My brothers would then go start their homework, and like I would have to clean up the dishes.
I hate this.
And wash all their dishes and stuff. And I remember like it definitely was my stepdad who was not allowing my mom to basically like step in and be like, no, this shouldn't be like this all the time. Like for him, it was like, oh, this one takes out the trash, where it's like, he's not taking out the trash every day.
Right.
He's not taking out the trash after several meals a day and or having to clean up after his sister at any point of the day or week.
Yeah.
And so I do remember one time my grandpa stepped in and like said something and came over and he was helping me with the dishes. And I was like, Grandpa, no, because I knew that my stepdad was going to be pissed about it. And so I like look.
But
I'm
for
like,
your
it's okay.
grandfather, who's an elder, to be like, no, I'm stepping in and I'm going to help.
And my grandpa was always like, both my grandma worked, and that was at that time a weird thing to do. Like they were always very much like on the same page with her doing what she wanted and needed to do, you know. And so he came over. He starts helping me dry the dishes. I'm like, Grandpa, no, you know, because I knew I was probably going to get in trouble.
I don't want to get
my
in trouble.
Stepdad. So my mom came over and she was like, Dad, no, like this is how it is in our house, you know, like. Basically, like, leave it alone. Like, she didn't want my stepdad coming over either, you know, because my mom was in an abusive marriage. And so it was just like things that he did not know, you know, were happening. And I'm sure in that moment, he probably felt how like scared we both were that like this could be a consequence, you know? And so he eventually said, like, fine. He was like, but just so you know, why do the boys get to go and do their homework? And Christine's in here washing dishes.
Yeah.
Because she should be getting the same amount of homework and school and all that stuff as the boys do.
Yeah, she still has to go to school.
And see, and that's for me where my feminist isms like began was because I grew up with two brothers.
Yeah.
And the same type of energy where my mom would be like, okay, we'd all be playing, but Nicole would have to come set the table and Nicole would have to clean up and Nicole would. So I'm like, I want to keep playing. Why do I have to get up to play? And that moment was when it began for me of like, nah, this shit should be equal.
This is clearly not fair.
100%. And so now even with Saint, he's 2 years old now and he helps me do laundry. He vacuums too. Like I vacuum, but it's like, I'm not forcing him. I'm not being like a
Think about it.
what I was gonna say no.
Totalitarian.
Totalitarian. Is that the word?
Totalitarian.
That's right. I'm not being like a dictator about it, right?
Yes,
You know?
yes.
And he wants to help, but I'm trying to nourish him. So like I'm raising this little boy to be a self-sufficient man. Yeah, he's gonna be somebody's husband one day. He's gonna be someone's best friend, but I want him to be self-sufficient, where he's not gonna be relying on a woman to do these jobs of washing dishes, of
everyday
laundry,
household things.
Also, like, can we rewind and talk about how crazy setting the table is? Because, like, when's the last time we set, like, okay, maybe it's because we grew up setting the table and that's why I absolutely refuse to do it. But I'm like, we serve the food, go get your fork. The forks are all right here. Everyone knows where the forks are. And I used to have to freaking fold the napkin, put it in and then put the fork and whatever utensils we needed. God forbid I forget the knife because we're eating steak or whatever it was. Like,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I think of it now and I'm like, that is crazy.
We just had like our forks in like the forks and like all the utensils in like the little like
and you just grab a caddy,
put it on the table. Yeah. So it's like boom.
We
grab
were
your
like
own forks.
I don't know where we thought we lived, but I was folding those napkins and I was as table settings. And I think like a part of having a girl now is like I think about all that stuff and I'm so grateful that my husband, and I think that meeting him was also such a breath of fresh air because I knew, you know, meeting him, like we both come from Mexican families who like, you know, I was already thinking in my head, okay, if we go to a family party together, especially when I first meet his family.
Oh, you're gonna have to go serve his plate,
right?
Yes.
Because that's part of our.
I don't like
a
doing
cultural
Oh my
thing.
gosh, you don't mind doing that?
I don't like doing
You don't
that.
like?
Nah,
Yes.
he can serve his own food.
That's
the first
such a thing
party,
at family parties.
Yes, the first party where I met like all of his family, I got a plate and I was like, "What do you want?" He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Don't you want me to serve you?" And I'm like looking at him like, don't let them know we're talking about this. Because in my head, I'm like, all the tias are going to, you know, I had never met his family. So I had no idea, you know, how they were, anything.
Yeah.
So my perception, because of my family, I was like, especially like my stepdad's side of the family, I was like, okay, everyone's going to look at me bad or like start talking shit about me if I don't get up and serve your plate. So I'm like, what do you want? And he's like, no, why? You don't know you don't know how my proportions are.
Yeah.
He's like, I like my beans on top of my rice with the juice, like all this stuff. I'm going to do it. And I'm like, okay.
Good.
So I gave it to him and I'm looking around like, okay, I hope everyone saw that he's the one who told me not to serve his plate, you know? And then ever since then, now I'm like, that's just how it is. He's going to serve his plate. I'm going to serve my plate with our child. Like we're going to split it up however it is.
Right.
But his family is not like that. Like his mom and dad each serve themselves. Like he was not brought up, and it's crazy because he actually has a house of all boys. He didn't have any sisters. So for them, his mom taught, I think, all of them, especially my husband, because he was the youngest, like he always was self-sufficient and learned how to do laundry and make food and like all these things. And so it's like, it's just a thing that he did not bring into our marriage or our house. That is something that I feel like I'm still super aware of.
And honestly, like, let's be honest, I feel like if he was bringing that energy, you probably wouldn't be married to him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is, I feel like that was my number one, like, prerequisite into marrying somebody is I will never be okay with living in a house like that for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I didn't have a choice. But now that I do, that's just never going to be it, you know? And I think my mom, like having a girl and a boy grandchild, like she's more aware of that too. Like, how do I make sure that I'm treating them both equally in all ways that they can be, but also obviously like still, you know, catering to their needs as both a little boy and a little girl, you know?
And I think it's also with raising children now, boys and girls, especially for boys, like Santi is still kind of young, but when he gets older, him expressing his emotions, him crying, I'm not going to shut that down. And like when we found out we were having a boy, like these were conversations that we had because I was like, I don't want to tell him like, oh, you can't cry because you're a man or like because you're a boy. Like if you're sad, if you're scared, if you're missing mommy, daddy, whatever, and you cry, like cry because that's valid. And it's okay to do that. And I feel like a lot of men, our generation, and even like my husband, it's like his emotions have to be suppressed because men don't do that. And
They have
that's
to
not
be like
fair.
the strong.
Right. You have to be strong and like you have to do this. And it's like, no, you can cry.
I think also, I don't know if you guys experience this too in the Latino experience, but I grew up where even if you felt emotional, it's no llore. No llore. Like don't cry. So even as a girl, I was told don't cry. So I can only imagine for my brothers. And oh my gosh, this is making me remember of something that I thought until I was like 23, 24. This is going to sound nuts. I didn't think men had the same emotions that women did because I didn't see my brothers cry growing up. The first time I saw my dad cry and the last time I saw him cry was when I was 32. And it was when I was having dinner with him and Zaire and my mom, and I wanted to like have a conversation when we were moving in with each other, and my dad got emotional because he was like, I want you to do right by my daughter because I want to walk her down the aisle, and he got emotional with that. And I was like, what? Anyway, rewind though, I didn't think men had emotions because even the guys that I dated didn't cry. And so of course I would be attracted to all of that, you know? And then I would see, I think, a little bit more of like my younger brother get a little bit more emotional. Then I was like, oh wait, they do have emotions.
They can cry.
Now that you're saying that, I'm like having a moment of remembering and thinking back onto what I thought at the time and what I'm like processing now that you've said that is like when my sister passed away, I remember that my little brother did not cry. My older brother barely, like teary-eyed. I'm talking about us going to the hospital and like finding out this information and seeing her there, and me obviously letting out everything that I needed to let out, screams and cries and all of it. And yeah, my brothers hardly cried, especially my little brother. And at the time, I just thought like, oh, he just gets like that. Like, oh, he's just, you know, like.
Or you can think like, oh, I'm just a girl. So like, I'm crying. I'm feeling this way because I'm a girl.
I didn't think it was that weird. Like I expected that. Like, but now that you're saying that and knowing like how my stepdad was with them, I'm like, oh my God, I can't even imagine. Like I do think my brother, like, you know, we've like grown up a lot, and I would hope that like if something really sad happened, he would feel comfortable to cry like that.
Right.
And like was not at the time, I guess. Like I didn't think that much of it. And now I'm like, wow, our sister died. Like, and you just didn't cry.
Yeah.
And probably because your dad was not like okay with you. They wouldn't have been okay if you had a breakdown like I did, basically. It would have been like, oh, stop. Or like
stop crying.
You know, which is crazy. And I remember like I locked myself in the bathroom because I didn't want anyone to see how I was reacting, including my own parents. Like, I just didn't want, I felt
You
ashamed.
felt like you couldn't even be open with that because nobody else was acting like that.
Yeah, like I felt ashamed.
I feel like this has been a conversation in my family because my dad has experienced something like that. So like it's kind of like his generational trauma that we were learning about. His youngest brother passed away, and when that happened, and these are stories that he shares with me now.
Yeah.
When his youngest brother passed away, my dad is the oldest of his family, and he's a boy. So he didn't cry. And my mom will even tell me this story too. My dad never cried. Like, you can't cry. You're the oldest. It's your youngest brother that just passed away. Like, you just got to handle it like a man. And he never cried. So like 3 months after, he ended up getting really, really sick. Shingles all over his body. And it was because he felt all of that. He felt all of that emotion. He was sad. He was devastated. This is his baby brother. And he couldn't
release it
at all. He couldn't feel it. He couldn't cry. And him and my mom were already together. My mom would tell us, like, they talk about this with us. Like, he was sad. He was devastated. He didn't want to talk. And then the shingles happened and he got really, really sick. And he had all of this stress internalized. Yeah. He literally made himself sick.
Yeah. Well, the energy of emotions doesn't go. It doesn't leave just because you decide you don't want to feel something. I mean, I'm sure everyone has heard of the book, The Body Keeps Score. It's like the emotions don't go anywhere. You literally have to release them. When you're crying, when you're screaming, when you're yelling, when you're punching things, whatever, like you're letting that emotion out of your body. Because if not, that's
it's gonna blow up. You are gonna blow up.
It's gonna, and because everything's connected emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, then of course he got sick. And that is why now that we have our own children, because we're aware of these things with our parents, with ourselves, and then now with our children, now it's so important more than ever to raise our children to be able to, one, identify their emotions and know that it's okay to feel these emotions and create a nurturing home and space to encourage that, and then to direct the energy that they're feeling so they're not directing it in the wrong thing, you know?
Yeah. Which is kind of like the screaming and the crying and all that stuff and letting it out, or, you know, you see some people like shaking it out when like something traumatic happens because like they say animals do that. They like shake after things like that happen to release the energy. And like kids are the perfect example for us of that. Like toddlers, you know, when they're doing tantrums and all that stuff, like
they have big feelings, they have big emotions,
and they're fully releasing them so that then, you know, when we laugh about it, when they like get up and then it's on to the next thing and they're like completely in a different world, we think that's funny, but it's like, wow,
that
they
literally
really
happened this morning with me leaving. He like threw a full fit. And I'm just like, go off, bro.
Go off.
Go off. And then he got up and went to go get his dinosaur. I'm like,
He's like, I let it out.
I'm
now
glad.
I can move on.
And that's something too to remember, that our children are also our teachers, because they're the actual spiritual masters showing us that you can just get over it and move on to the next thing.
And they are so young, and I feel like we as children in our journey, and I will speak for myself, have also been a teacher to my parents, even still, even now, like even now that my parents are grandparents, we are raising our kids differently than they raised us. And we are teaching them. And like, I will have these honest conversations with my parents, and God bless them, because they will remain calm when if I would try to have a conversation like this, you know, when I was younger, it probably wouldn't have been this calm and understanding. But now, today, we can have these conversations. They can actually listen. My dad will let me speak and not interrupt me. And I will tell him, like, this is what we're doing and this is why. Like, this is the explanation of why we're not doing this with our child, even though you did that with us. And then my dad will say, like, you guys are so smart. You and your sister are so smart. You're looking into everything. And I'm like, we are. And it's not that we are mad at you for raising us differently. You had less resources. We have all the resources now. We have Google. We have, you know, people we can talk to. ChatGPT. And just other people. Like, I just feel like parents weren't talking about being parents. You know, it's just, you're figuring it out in your house alone, and you're getting the chancla and you're getting the belt and you're doing this. Like, we're not doing that in our house, you know?
Have any of your parents apologized to any of you now that they're grandparents and they see, oh, you could do it differently?
I think so.
Well, I think my mom kind of, before I had my daughter, like, I feel like we kind of repaired a lot before that. mostly because I think some of my generational trauma is because of abuse, and talking about doing the work before having a child, like that was something that I wanted to work on before having a child or before getting pregnant or even
Was
trying.
your relationship with your mom?
Yes,
Okay.
and like because of what happened in our house, and because of my stepdad being an abuser, and it was multiple forms of abuse, but predominantly sexual abuse. Like I think my mom and I had to repair what I was feeling, for so many years that was pent up, and it went to a full trial, and I, took the stand against him and all these things, which was such a whirlwind in my life. And the people that know my story, like it inspired me to start my business, and it's why I am who I am right now, but after the trial, like we had to repair because it felt broken, and it felt like now all these things had to come out in front of a bunch of strangers. And growing up, we were always taught like everything that happens in our house stays in our house.
Yeah.
You don't need to be telling everyone about what's happening in this house. It doesn't matter what it is, which is unfortunate because, again, talking about not carrying on generational trauma, like that is never going to be a message that I share with my child because whatever's happening in the house, we should be able to talk about with everyone.
Yeah.
There should be no secrets.
No secrets.
Yep. And so I think that that's like me going to therapy and then me repairing with my mom was, and like is still something that I think as Poppy gets older and like closer to the age that I was when this started, because for me it was like from 5 until like 16.
Jeez, Christine.
I'm
so sorry.
It's okay. Thank you. I feel like I see myself more in her now, and like as she gets older, and even when my nieces and nephews have hit that age of like 5 or 6, I'm like looking at them like I cannot imagine somebody hurting you in that way. Because I would want to literally kill them, you know?
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to my own child, like that is something where I've been working over the years about like controlling my anger over that, and like not thinking that could ever happen to her because there's just no world in my brain where that could happen,
Yeah.
And part of like, again, not carrying that trauma is like my daughter lives in a safe house.
Yeah.
And I think, again, meeting my husband and like we've had these conversations even recently because I always feel the need to tell him like, thank you for being my safe space. Thank you, for letting our daughter grow up in a house where she's never going to be afraid. And I didn't realize like how important that would have been for me as a child to have lived in a safe space, and how, again, she's never going to have to deal with that because she lives with 2 parents who believe in her safety and keeping her safe at any cost, And so, I feel like I've done a lot of research on like, and the things that I felt as a kid about how not to keep secrets in the house, how to talk to her about keeping herself safe whenever we're not around, which is really going to be never, but like, just we're not going to have eyes on them for the rest of our lives. Like, but doing all that research and even talking to my mom about how we both talk to her, how us as a community talk to her, my great grandma or her great grandma, my grandma, my mom, me, my husband, like again, as she gets older. And it definitely is like going to be a learning curve of like, we've never done this before, but I am grateful that, again, my mom and I have moved forward in our lives to be able to have such a close relationship with my daughter and also be forgiving of what happened in our home, and that she unfortunately was in extenuating circumstances herself with a disabled daughter and being in an abusive marriage and all these other things that were going on, that what was going on with me was just like another thing, And so, it's... Sorry, I know that was a lot, but
No,
I know that's this episode, but it's
Well, that's a generational trauma that we're talking about. That stops with you.
Yep.
Poppy's never gonna experience that, and because she gets to live and grow up in a really safe home, now her children and her children's children get to reap the benefits of the work that you've done and that you're doing now to make sure that that's not gonna happen. You now have a house where She knows secrets aren't a thing. She knows that she can have loud emotions and loud feelings and stomp it out and dance it out however she wants to.
And she can go to either of you in the house. She can go to her dad. She can go to you, and she's comfortable. And you guys share it on social media. She's a firecracker, and as she should be. Like she's not scared. And she shouldn't be scared in her own house with her own parents. That's her safety. You guys are her people. She's gonna be exactly who she is. No holding back.
That reminds me, that part of like her being a firecracker. Saint, oh my gosh, he's so funny.
All of our kids are firecrackers.
He does not like. He laughs at us.
Stop.
And like Zaire and I have to look away to laugh.
Oh my God, always.
Because
the look away laugh.
And it's just so funny. Like, and when we're trying to discipline him, he'll laugh at us. And I love that he's not afraid of Zaire. I love that.
That's a Gemini.
That's he's not afraid of, and Zaire's like trying to, discipline him, and he's like, dad.
He's like, this guy,
fucking guy
thinks he's all serious right now.
But that's the thing too with my son too, is I want him to question authority. I don't want him to grow up, and I mean, he's
scared. And
I feel like Geminis are born with that because my husband has been questioning authority since he popped out of the womb.
As he should. Okay, can we just stop and just talk about how dope this recording studio is? I feel like everyone hits me about like where it's at, how cool it is. What's the situation? It's called Project Studios in Monterey Park.
Everything is here. And the staff does everything for you as well. The editing, the producing, the lighting.
The cameras.
Everything. We need that good lighting. Get out of here.
And you could create such dope content here. Like downstairs is a full production area that literally is like for music videos, big scale production. And next door they even have a place where like you can do flat lays if you sell clothing, jewelry, whatever you sell. It's like professional level studio next door that you can use.
And it's only 9 minutes from downtown LA. And there's parking here in LA. It's so annoying to find parking. And I know that was a big thing when we were looking for podcast space, was where in LA that we can all park and feel safe and feel comfortable. Yes. And that is here. Make sure to follow them on Instagram so you can see more of all the fun stuff they do at Project LA. And you can schedule a creative consultation at projectstudios.com.
Tell them we sent you.
I mean, I'm raising a Latino and Black boy. So we live in the United States. We don't live in a place that nourishes and embraces boys and young men like that. So I want him to question authority, to question why this, why that, but also know his rights and also know how to defend himself, which is going to come later down the line too. But that starts here and not being afraid of us. Because if he's afraid of us, he's going to be afraid of authority forever.
But also that's showing the comfort level in the house. Like he's that comfortable with Zaire. Like this guy.
Like
he's
let me just hug him real quick.
Like I'm just gonna go give him a kiss right now. Like we're good.
It's so hard because I feel like it's such like a line where you're like, okay, I'm trying to discipline you, and you're literally just like not taking me seriously at all. How do you take me seriously? Like sometimes I'm like sitting in the other room like, okay, I tried everything. She laughed at me because I thought I lost it. I was like, oh no, Christine, you raised your voice a little too loud. Like, oh no. And then she just looks at me.
It didn't phase her.
And then she walks away. I'm like, all right, well, that's great because I shouldn't have even gotten to that level. And now I'm glad that she just thinks it's funny. And now I need to brainstorm on like how she's actually going to listen to it.
Right, because I don't want to be I'm not a passive parent, and I don't want him to just to think he can just do whatever he wants, because that's not the case at all, But something I also want to talk about too is, I don't know the experience that you guys have had, but when it comes to money, like I grew up in a home where it's like there wasn't enough money, and you were afraid to talk about it, and also afraid to be evicted, and afraid of not having enough of it. So I'm curious as to how both of you experience the space of money and how you plan on teaching your children about finances.
For us, I'm grateful that my parents they're crazy, but they are smart people. So in their generation, they had us later than usual. They were 33, which is late for them.
In their generation,
back then,
But they tell us like, because money was important, because it's really because of their generational trauma that we got benefits, that they learned these things. So my dad, he was abused his upbringing, and so when chanclas or the belt was mentioned in our house, it was a scare tactic. He never used those on us, and that's because he was abused as a child.
Yeah.
And he would talk about going from home to home and living from here to there, like not just in Los Angeles, but like many different places. So for him, when he was ready to have children, he said, I wanted to make sure I owned a home. I was not going to have children
I remember you saying
and
that.
not knowing where I'm going.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't care about cars. I didn't care about anything. Like, I worked, your mom worked, we saved our money, and we didn't have kids until we had the house. And they stuck to that. They had our house, and that's the house that my sister and I were raised in, and that's the house that they still live in. That's the house I got married in. Yeah. That house is like everything.
Yeah.
So that is a piece of me that like I'm now taking to my son, and you know, having his own room. And I know we were talking about like rooms, like little things like that. I don't want him to take for granted either. Yeah. Because he does have his own room, but that's not something that everybody has.
Yeah.
Like, that is a luxury.
Even like you're saying, a home. Like, I think that, you know, we growing up, like, and my husband and I, like, he was raised in a very similar situation, I think, to you. And so when him and I talk about it, I'm like, yeah, we lived in apartments. Like, we lived in apartments for a long time till we eventually bought a house. But even with the house, we knew that, like, okay, you know, there are other like sacrifices that have to happen. Like, we were never, at least, you know, communicated to me, afraid of being evicted, thankfully. But that was because my grandparents were the backup plan. Because my grandparents, like, previous to being with my stepdad, like, my mom's parents were in a fine financial situation, and my grandpa and grandma both worked and like saved. And my grandma my grandpa retired like in his late 50s, I believe, and my grandma. And my grandma has since been taken care of because all the decisions that my grandpa made while they were working to make sure that she would be like set for life. And because of that, like, I always be hitting the mic. Because of that, like, then my mom getting into a marriage where they were not financially stable, and then having a child with special needs, like, it just kind of snowballed into a worse and worse situation financially. And so I feel like for me, it was always the like, okay, we live in a house. But like, when we moved into this house, my sister and I had shared a room before. And when we lived in the apartments, we always two and two shared. So my two brothers and me and my sister, and like, we each shared. Then when we moved to Fontana, I got my own room because they built a room in the garage that was my brother's room for them to share. Obviously, like, not legally. And so excuse me. When I moved into my room, we couldn't afford to buy me like a bedroom set at first. Yeah. And so to me, it wasn't weird. I knew that I was like, okay, whatever, this is kind of ridiculous. But literally, I slept on the floor and my nightstand was like crates. I don't know how long this went on for. It could have been a week. It could have been a month. I don't remember. But I do remember that we waited until it was my birthday to get the bedroom set. Wow. Which, like, you know, now thinking about my daughter, I'm like, she would get a new bedroom set no matter what day of the week it is because she needed it. Yeah. But we really could not afford it.
It's a necessity, not like a celebration.
Yeah. And I remember, like, my friends, after my birthday, they came over. And I think I wasn't embarrassed about it until I started school at, like, a wealthier school. And I realized, like, oh, this is just, like, a normal thing. This isn't, like, a celebration. Like, I got a new bedroom set. And I remember two of my girlfriends came over after my birthday, and I'm like, come look at my room. Like, come. I was like in 8th grade or like 9th grade. I'm like, come look at my room. And they came in, and like, I was like, look at my new bedroom set. And they're like, cool. You know, like, what is it? You know?
Like, what are we listening to me?
I was like, this is a big deal because I know from my parents that this is expensive, that this costs a lot of money, you know? And I think I was more aware of the like money situation in everyday life when it came to like the grocery store. Like, I always knew that my mom had a budget of like, literally, it was like $110. Family, we had 4 kids, okay? 4 kids and my parents. Family of 6. Damn. A little over $100. And every time it hit that $100 mark, even when I was little, I would like get
like,
anxiety.
What do we got to get rid of? Look, you start looking like, what don't we need?
Yes. Like, I would get so much anxiety because I was like, oh no, like, can we pay for this? We don't know if we can pay for this. And I think that came from like smaller situations, like, a real core memory for me is do you guys remember Discovery Zone?
Yeah.
Okay, so like they had Chuck E. Cheese and Discovery Zone, and they were like, it was on the commercials. And so I remember my brothers and I telling my mom, like, we want to go to Discovery Zone. And so my mom's like, okay. But we always knew like we probably can't afford it, which like it costs what Chuck E. Cheese costs, like not that much money. But at the time, obviously. So she takes us, we go up to the front. My mom, I knew, had been saving money to like go to Discovery Zone. So we get there and she has my sister in the car seat and like us three. And my mom's like, oh yeah, how much is it? And he tells her and she's like, okay. And she like is like, I'm so sorry, I don't have that. And she like turns around to us three and we're like all jumping behind her, like all excited to go to Discovery Zone. And I could just tell, like, you know, it's when you grow up with that, like, you know that what your parent is going through is like bigger than how you feel in that moment. Like, I think my initial reaction was like, I felt sad that she couldn't give us this.
Yeah.
You know? And so we all just got quiet. We all got back in the car. I'm pretty sure maybe one or many of or three of us cried. But like, I just always knew, like, don't ask for more. Don't, because you already know the answer. Like, we don't have the money. There's never been like, we have the money, go ahead, you know? And so I think because of that, like how you're saying, talking to Poppy about it, like, I hope to be in a situation always where she never has to worry about that stuff. But also I know that there's like a fine line. Like, this girl goes to Disneyland once a week, you know? So I'm like, how do I keep her from becoming the kid that thinks like Disneyland is just a park?
But that's,
you know?
why for you, that's probably why you're so big on Disneyland, because you can give that to your daughter.
Yeah.
Because you weren't able to get that or the Discovery Zone or whatever it was. And you're like, you know what? We can go to Disneyland.
Yes.
We're getting a pass and
That
I'm going to
is
take
such
you.
a huge
And
part
it
of
is
it.
special because Mom can give you this now.
Yes. Because when we were little, it's like we would, you know, we literally went to Disneyland from Make-A-Wish Foundation, because when my sister, you know, given her circumstances, like Make-A-Wish came to our house. They offered whatever her wish was going to be. And her wish was a giant bed, because she just loved to, you know, be in bed and roll all over the place. And so in addition, they gave us tickets to Disneyland. And that was like one of the 2 times that I remember going with my mom and our family.
Wow.
And it was because of Make-A-Wish. And so even when I go now, I'm like, the fact that we have passes, like, I feel so grateful every single time I go, because I never forget that. And like, I know that part of it is like, I don't want to get stuck in like the poor person mentality of like, things are scarce. But I also never want to forget how grateful I am and like where I came from and where I am now, you know?
Yeah. I completely relate to that too. I feel like my parents were in survival mode, you know, and my parents split when I was really young. And I think my mom had to figure it out. My mom raised 3 kids damn near on her own. I'm raising one with my partner.
I can't even imagine one alone.
Yeah, no, I can't.
Honestly, hats off.
So it makes sense for me now, looking back, to see why she was as disciplined as she was, because she had to keep some sort of order in the house. I understand why there was emotional manipulation in the house, because she needed order. I understand why we had, you know, when we'd go to the grocery store, she would have the cash in hand already, because she knew this is all we could spend, you know. I understand that now, and I have compassion looking back on it also. But now that I have my own child, I'm super cognizant and aware of my thoughts and of the language that I use around saying. I don't use language of we can't afford that. Even if that's true, because I don't want him to look at what we don't have, even though like what we do have is very clear. If I'm saying we can't afford that, I'm also saying, look how beautiful our house is. You live a beautiful life. Like, even though I still don't say, you know, what we can't afford. But because I wasn't taught about money growing up, I had to do the research, and I'm still researching. Like, I ask both of y'all all the time, how much did you spend on this? What did this cost? Like, how did you do travel, vacation, house, marriage, like a wedding? I've asked both of you those things too, because we haven't bought a house yet, we haven't gotten married yet, but still those things are, you know, going to happen. But even before that, I'm like, okay, now Saint has a bank account. I put money in it every single week. Put money in his bank account. There are still more things that I want to do for him, but at least I'm aware of it. And thank God I'm in a position where I can afford
to do those things.
But beyond like the physicality of money, I'm not making money our God. It's not something where everything is about money, and without it, like, because I mean, I understand that it's true that you need money to live in this world, like whatever, all those things, but that's not something that I want my son to stress
Right.
about the way I stressed about it. Like, I had no business at 11 years old worrying about evictions. I had no business
That's scary.
carrying that stress with me at school and watching my mom cry and watching my parents argue. Like, I no business having that knowing that stuff, you know? So that's something that I'm like, I'm not going to carry that along.
Were your
to a son.
parents both business owners? Was it a one-income household? What
Well,
was the...
they were together. My parents were together up until I was like 7, I want to say. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom up until that time. And my dad, he wasn't a business owner. He's been a photographer my whole life, but he worked at like a photography company or something like that. And then after that, my mom, I think around that time, my mom learned how to be a hairdresser, and then so she kind of started her own thing. But I do remember growing up with my mom being at the salon all the time. And us like coming home and being like self-sufficient of like
turnkey
making
kids, they call it, like
Yeah.
coming home.
Yeah.
And that's definitely, and like we've talked about that on other episodes. Like me and my sister, my parents were very much the 9 to 5. We'd get out of school and get on the bus by ourselves. And now looking back, I'm like, that is
bus
crazy.
by yourself?
We take the city
The
bus.
city
The
bus?
city bus?
Not a school bus.
Oh,
Me and
and
my
what
sister.
age?
God.
My sister was probably like 8, and I was probably like 6
Together you would take it?
together.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is frightening.
I know. Now looking back, I'm like, that is crazy that we would do that. But our parents worked. So when
was
when
another
my
way.
abuelita wasn't there, when she was there, like she would watch us. She would walk and go pick us up because she didn't drive. But like
course,
other than that, we were turnkey kids. We would stay home. It was very much like, don't answer the door for anyone.
Yeah, you could hide.
If we heard a noise, we're
Literally
hiding. Yeah.
Freeze, everybody freeze.
Exactly. We're like
Wow.
cooking for each other.
yes.
We're watching Nickelodeon, like keeping ourselves busy until mom gets home, and then it's dinner, and then it's go to sleep, and then it's do it all over again.
Wow.
The fact that they trusted us with like fires and things, like I'm just like, how, like, because my mom was home with my sister, she was always home when we got home. But when she had to take my brothers to practice or whatever, I stayed home with my sister. And my sister being special needs, like, again, thinking of it now, I'm like, anything could have happened.
Yeah.
And I was a 10-year-old
Yeah.
in charge
then
of her.
what do you do?
Yeah. And like, there wasn't cell phones for the majority of that time.
Then that's another thing. Like when we did have to call our mom, you have to call the office. So like,
yeah.
can I talk to my mom? They're like, who's your mom? Celia. And then you're like waiting, but like, God forbid there was
Were
an
you
emergency.
the kid that was like asking random questions?
For
Like, Mom,
everything.
can I have the cheese in
Exactly.
the jar?
Exactly. Yeah, because if you didn't ask when she got home if she was going to use that cheese, you got in
That
trouble
is true.
because that cheese
is
is gone.
true.
So 1,000% I'd
Now
be
that
calling.
we buy the groceries, I'm like, okay, I get it. Because when you go to the grocery store and you get things for like
You're
dinner
mentally
tomorrow,
preparing it.
and then you come home and your kid's eating all of it, you're gonna be like,
Or is like put the chicken in the sink, like let it defrost,
yeah.
and then you forget.
you
You're like,
forget. Oh my God, the anxiety,
I'm in
the
trouble.
fear,
The fear. No,
you hear that garage door open or the door open, you're like, oh shit.
put it quick. No, for me, the fear, and this is how type B I've been my entire life. Like a school project tomorrow, I need like all the supplies.
That
and
was
it's
you?
It's 8 p.m. and I'm like, oh yeah, can we go to Staples?
Oh my God, I would have failed. I would have not even
Wow.
asked my mom. I would have known
Nah.
I'm about to get hit.
I was too terrified that
Yeah.
I would
I'll
be
fail.
too terrified.
I'll take the F.
I would rather take the F than to deal with my mom's wrath.
Absolutely
No,
not.
my
Yeah.
dad would take me. My mom would take me. My dad would take me, and he'd be pissed. And I'm like, I forgot.
I can see little
I
Chris.
forgot.
No fear of your parents.
Yeah, like I felt comfortable.
Yeah.
But see, again, and like we have this conversation with my dad often because of his abusive upbringing, because of his experiences. He very much didn't want it to be our house, and I thank him so much for that because he did have 2 girls, and he could have raised us very differently.
Yeah.
But because of his experience and wanting to change his generational trauma, I'm like,
Yeah.
thank you. Because, yeah, I wasn't scared at 8 p.m. I knew he was going to be mad, but I'd be like, oh, yeah, I have a list.
Here's the list.
And I need it
Thank
for
you.
tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, the last thing I do want to say about this, because I feel like we can
Yeah.
talk about our
Yeah.
trauma forever,
For sure.
Yep.
is that I am not spanking my son.
No.
Yes.
I'm not touching him in any physical manner.
Yep.
He's learning and I'm still learning to be a parent that is disciplining my child, but we're not putting any hands
Yeah.
on him at all.
Yep.
And so, and at first I was like, but like, can I like flick him? And I'm like, no.
Can
I just flick him?
What about here?
Yeah. No, we're not touching him. And that's something that I'm so proud of with myself, because I've heard the stories of the way my great grandma disciplined and how my grandma wasn't as bad, but she was bad. Yeah. And then the way like it passed down to my mom, but she wasn't as bad, but that was bad. And then like now, and it's just like, it just
it's going to end.
Completely ends here with
That's
me
amazing.
and with Zaire. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of that.
And these are things that like we're still going to continue learning as our motherhood journey continues, because we haven't gotten to the teen years.
Oh my God,
Christine, we need to continue this podcast like literally till Poppy is in her teens, because I am so intrigued by what's going to happen then.
Same, but also like I have a stepdaughter who's in her teens.
Yeah.
And so I'm not like her parent. I'm the step parent. So, but I see what her parents go through too. And like, I see firsthand, you know, so I'm there as her friend and there to hear her. So I see, I feel like I'm getting a behind the scenes glimpse or a behind the scenes look at what it could look like. But yeah, I'm looking forward to like, what the heck is teen life?
Teen years, because they could just walk outside and leave. And like, I'm watching like TV shows, like you were saying, Ginny and Georgia.
Oh my God.
I was watching that and I'm like, these are teens. They're giving me anxiety. They're not listening to their parents. They're doing all of these things. And I'm like, this is crazy. And like, even The Boy, I'm watching The Boys on that show, you know, or like Boys and The Boy in that show. I'm like, this mom is having such a hard time parenting him. And you know what I'm talking about, because you're watching this show. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you can't get through to them.
I know.
That's the TBD conversation for 10 years.
But that stems now.
Yeah, it does.
So the relationship for teen years starts now. And I think we're doing that.
You're right.
We're doing a good job.
Yes.
We're doing a good job for now.
And everybody listening, you're doing amazing.
Yes,
sweetie.
you are doing amazing. We're in this together. We have resources. We have people we can talk to. Podcasts we can listen to. This one, literally. And on our next episode, is that our final episode for this season?
Finale.
Oh my gosh.
OMG.
What am I going to wear?
Are we like planning a whole thing? Yeah. Like,
maybe.
I don't know.
Well, let's talk about it out there.
TBD, but our final wrap-up episode is next. And we're kind of going to put a bow on everything of this season and where we are now with our babies. Because our babies were like so little when we started this show.
Now they're complete different ages. What the hell? What the helly?
Yep. And all of your kids too. All you listeners, all of your kids are in a way different spot than when you first started listening to this podcast.
Or all of you moms who are pregnant.
Who now have your babies.
Now have your babies.
Oh, that gives me the chills.
I know.
That makes me so happy.
So one more episode to go this season. Coming up next.
Yay!
Thanks so much for hanging out with us on Nightclubs to Nightfeeds. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we are, of course, always continuing the conversation on our social media. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Nightclubs to Nightfeeds. That's at Nightclubs, the number 2, and then Nightfeeds. Make sure to follow us and let us know if there's a topic you want us to cover. Can't wait to chat next time.